Welcome to the deep dive. We sift through, well, often complex information to bring you the really key insights.
That's the goal.
And today, we're embarking on a bit of a journey, exploring the connection between two, let's say, pretty significant figures in mind power and personal transformation, Neville Goddard and Dr. Frederick Bailes.
Right, two big names from that era.
Exactly. Our sources, we've got bits from Neville's lectures, info on Bailes' books, Your Mind Can Heal You, Why the Rich Get Richer, things like that.
And that article specifically looking at their connection.
Yep, that too.
Yeah.
So our mission really is pretty straightforward. Understand how these two interacted professionally and pull out some of their core ideas for you.
And the connection itself is fascinating right off the bat. It wasn't just mutual admiration from afar.
No, not at all.
Neville actually, well, he stepped right into Bailes' spotlight, didn't he? Took over his talks at the Fox Wilshire Theater.
And the radio show, Keika in Los Angeles.
Yeah, so it wasn't like Neville had to build that specific audience from scratch. He sort of inherited it in a way.
He did. And, it seems it wasn't some kind of hostile takeover or anything like that. Quite the opposite, actually.
Bailes actively supported him.
Seems so. All the accounts suggest Bailes was genuinely a big fan of Neville's work. There's this great story in Neville's lecture, Sound Investments.
Oh, the Jimmy Fuller one?
That's the one. This guy, Jimmy Fuller, he's down to his last, $54.
Wow.
And he hears Bailes on the radio just raving about Neville.
Praising him generously. Wasn't that the quote?
Yeah, exactly. Fuller apparently said, Bailes was so generous in his praise, I thought, I've got to hear this man. So he uses his last money to go see Neville.
And it paid off for him, right?
Big time. Hugely. Made over $250,000, according to Neville. But the key point is Fuller credited Bailes' enthusiastic recommendation. That tells you something about the relationship, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It suggests real respect there. And the article we looked at, it really drives home how big Bailes actually was at that time.
He wasn't a minor figure.
No way. Weekly lectures packed to capacity. Radio broadcasts twice a week in L.A. That's a significant platform.
A huge platform.
So for Bailes to point that audience towards Neville, that's a pretty strong endorsement.
Yeah.
Shows he must have really believed in what Neville was teaching.
And Neville mentions Bailes again, doesn't he? In Proof the Law Works.
Uh-huh. He talks about a dinner party at the Ambassador Hotel.
Hosted by Bailes, right. And someone there, apparently a contributor to Bailes' work, sort of took Neville to task.
Why? What was the issue?
For sharing a specific story with such a massive audience. Neville mentions the crowd-sized 2,600 inside the Fox Wilshire.
And 1,000 more outside.
Yeah.
Trying to get in.
Right. It's incredible. So that story, it kind of shows two things. Neville's own popularity was exploding, but it also confirms the size of the platform he'd stepped into thanks to Bailes.
Yeah, that audience size detail is really important. Bailes had already gathered this large group of people interested in these kinds of ideas about the mind.
People already receptive.
Exactly. So Bailes' endorsement wasn't just a casual recommendation. It gave Neville a running start with an audience ready to listen.
Okay, so let's maybe pivot a bit and focus on Frederick Bailes himself. What were his core ideas?
Well, the article mentions his key books again, Your Mind Can Heal You, Basic Principles of the Science of Mind.
The Healing Power of Balanced Emotions, collected essays.
Right, and Your Mind Can Heal You is where he lays out that 7-step process for spiritual mind treatment.
The 7 R's, I remember reading about this. The core idea being that, the person is already perfect in the universal mind, and the treatment just clears away our own contrary beliefs.
Precisely. It's about aligning your own mind with that underlying perfection.
So the first R, relaxation, getting physically and mentally still.
Makes sense. You need to quiet the noise first, create that receptive state. It's pretty common in these kinds of practices, isn't it?
Yeah, seems foundational. Okay, next is recognition.
Which is about acknowledging this creative mind of the universe, and accepting its power to actually manifest our thoughts, our beliefs.
Gotcha. Then number 3 is relationship.
Consciously unifying with that creative mind, feeling that connection, that you're part of it.
That idea of oneness being part of something bigger.
Exactly. It pops up in lots of different spiritual traditions, that sense of unity.
Okay, 4th R, reasoning. This one sounds a bit more active.
It is. It's about tackling your doubts head on. Thinking through the objections your logical mind throws up until you reach this inner certainty.
Interesting. So you reason through the doubt, then comes realization.
Yeah, and this seems like a shift. It's less about active reasoning and more about recognizing the inherent perfection, the wholeness of whoever the treatment is for, yourself or someone else.
And that brings a feeling of calm assurance.
That's the idea, moving from intellectual argument to a deeper knowing.
Okay, number 6, release.
Letting go, trusting the process. You hand over the responsibility for the how to the creative mind. You've done your part, now you release it.
That feels crucial. Not trying to micromanage the universe.
Right. And finally, number 7, rejoice.
Giving thanks in advance.
Essentially, yes, but not as a trick to make it happen, more as a way to confirm your belief, your faith, that it's already resolved positively.
So it's a full journey, isn't it? From getting quiet all the way to joyful gratitude. Uses your mind, your emotions.
It's a very practical, step-by-step framework he offered.
Bailes also had some pretty specific ideas about manifesting love, didn't he?
Ah, yes. The invisible matrimonial agent. Quite a name.
It is. And he actually had a daily prayer or treatment for it.
What did that involve?
Well, things like really believing you're desired by your ideal partner, understanding that they need and love you too, it's mutual,
Okay.
trusting that this infinite knower, as he called it, is arranging the meeting.
So again, that reliance on a higher intelligence.
Definitely. And releasing anxiety, knowing there's no competition, that your perfect partner is meant for you.
That non-competition part is interesting. Removes the striving, maybe.
Yeah, and being ready to return positive feelings and, again, giving thanks for it being completed even before it shows up.
It really emphasizes that inner state, doesn't it? Becoming the right vibration maybe for that relationship rather than chasing it externally.
Yeah, that seems right. Then there's his take on wealth, why the rich get richer.
Ah, yes. This one can be a bit, well, controversial depending on how you read it.
How so? What was his angle?
He argued it's not really about luck or unfair systems, though he doesn't dismiss those entirely, perhaps. But fundamentally, it's a mental law.
A mental law.
Yeah, it's about the riches of consciousness. His idea was that your outer reality, including wealth, is basically a reflection of your inner beliefs and state of mind.
So you create your own financial reality through belief.
That's the core of it. He said no external force could give you more than your own consciousness allows, essentially. He even kind of pushed back against seeing the poor as just underprivileged.
How did he frame that?
By emphasizing personal responsibility, the power of your own belief to change your circumstances, it puts the power firmly back on the individual's mindset.
Which, okay, can be empowering on one level.
Right.
But it also potentially overlooks, systemic issues, real-world barriers, doesn't it? It's a very individualistic take.
It is. And that's a tension, as you said, that maybe neither Bailes nor Neville fully grappled with in their work, the balance between individual mind power and external societal structures. His focus was definitely internal first.
Okay, so that gives us a good picture of Bailes. Now let's swing back to Neville Goddard and see how his ideas connect, especially knowing he took over Bailes' audience.
Yeah, and the article lists a whole bunch of Neville lectures that reference Bailes, or at least echo these themes. Be what you wish, by imagination we become.
Sound investments, feeling is the secret, proof, the law works.
Right. And we already mentioned Stone, Water, or Wine, where he talks about taking over the audiences. So the connection is direct.
So thinking about Neville's main teachings, where do we see the clearest echoes of Bailes?
Well, the absolute centrality of the mind, for one. Neville's constant drumming on the importance of your attitude towards yourself. Be what you wish, be what you believe.
Assume the state.
Exactly. That directly mirrors Bailes' idea that consciousness shapes reality. Neville insisted that unless you accept something as true of yourself internally, it just can't show up externally.
Yeah, that feels very aligned. And Neville's huge emphasis on imagination, man's imagination is God, or the man himself, as he put it.
Right. That seems to connect strongly with Bailes' realization step, doesn't it? Creating that vivid inner reality.
Holding that mental picture. And what about Neville saying everything must be an investment in sound investments? Could that link back?
You could definitely read it that way, like consciously investing your mental energy, your belief, your imagination towards what you want. Very much in line with Bailes' structured approach of directing the mind.
Okay. And Neville's core technique, really assuming the wish fulfilled.
Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled.
Right. Assume the most glorious thing for yourself. Like he says in Proof, the law works. How does that map to Bailes?
It feels very parallel to Bailes' realization step. Again, recognizing the perfection, holding that vision. But Neville perhaps emphasizes living in that assumption more intensely, mentally inhabiting the end result as if it's already fact.
Like it's done.
Yes. And of course, Neville's whole book, Feeling is the Secret. the absolute necessity of feeling the reality of your desire.
That connects directly to Bailes' final R, rejoice, giving thanks, feeling the gratitude.
It does. Both saw that emotional component as locking it in, solidifying the belief, though maybe Neville placed even more emphasis on the feeling itself being the actual creative agent.
Interesting distinction. And Neville also talked about changing the future by feeling the desired state now, right? And affirm the reality of your own greatness.
Actively pulling that future reality into your present feeling state, which again mirrors the active nature of Bailes' 7 Rs. You're actively engaging your mind and emotions.
What about SATs? State akin to sleep. Controlling thoughts just before sleep to manifest things.
Well, our sources on Bailes don't explicitly mention something like SATs, but the underlying principle, using receptive, less conscious states to impress the subconscious mind, it shares that same sort of logic, tapping into deeper levels of mind.
And Neville's imaginative love is the ultimate truth that kind of resonates with Bailes' treatment for attracting love too, thematically at least.
For sure. So if we try to pull out the big overlapping themes...
The power of the mind, that's number one, isn't it?
Undeniably. Both were convinced that our inner world, our thoughts, beliefs, feelings, imagination, is the primary creative force in our lives.
And the absolute necessity of belief, conviction.
Yep. Whether you call it faith, assumption, realization that inner knowing was key for both of them, conscious creation depends on it.
And this idea of an underlying intelligence, Bailes' creative mind or infinite knower.
Neville's broader concept of consciousness or imagination as the ultimate reality, God itself.
They seem to be pointing at the same sort of responsive, universal intelligence, even if the words are different.
Exactly. A force that works through our beliefs. Though, it raises an interesting point. Is there a tension between Bailes' release step, letting go,
and Neville's active assuming the state?
Yeah. Are they contradictory? Or maybe different facets of the same process?
Maybe Neville's assuming isn't about forceful control, but more like aligning yourself so deeply with the desired reality that release happens naturally. Like you assume it so fully, you don't need to strive anymore.
That's a great way to put it. The assumption is the release, in a sense. It's an inner shift, not forcing the outer world.
Right. And ultimately, both gave people tools, didn't they? Practical methods.
Absolutely. Bailes had his very clear 7 Rs. Neville had his imaginal acts, the feeling techniques, essay tests.
So people weren't just left with abstract ideas. They got actionable steps.
Ways to actually try and harness this power they talked about.
Okay, so wrapping this up, this deep dive really highlights a significant link between Goddard and Bailes.
Yeah, Bailes clearly played a big part in launching Neville to a wider audience. That handover was key.
Definitely a supportive role there. And while they had their own styles, their own words,
the core message is strikingly similar, isn't it? The mind's power, the critical role of beliefs, our ability to consciously shape our experience.
It really is.
Which brings us to that final thought, maybe, for you listening. How could these ideas from Bailes and Goddard play out in your own life?
Right. Thinking about your relationships or work or just your general sense of well-being.
What assumptions are you holding right now? What beliefs might be quietly shaping your reality without you even realizing it?
Yeah, something to chew on. Maybe it sparks some curiosity to explore their work further and see how these principles might apply on your own path.